The JLR interview series.
Okay, so it's just after midday on fairly sunny Tuesday here in London, and Jazz London Radio has a very interesting artist with us today, a drummer and composer, and his name's William Clyne-Bailey. So, how are you this afternoon?
Oh, it's all good. I'm alive. Life is good.
Well, yeah, that's good to hear. We're all alive. That's quite important actually. In these crazy times as well, but we won't get into that
Ex
today.
Exactly.
So I'm here to talk about your new album called Panache. Now, we've been playing the title track on the latest releases, and we've also been featuring some of your tracks from your EP last year called Discovery, which I really enjoyed actually. I will call a nice Afro Caribbean sound to it. But you could tell us more about that. But let's concentrate
Mm.
on Panache, I suppose, first of all. And yeah, can you tell us some more about how that project came about, please?
Well, Panache encapsulates what I'm all about. I like to do things with style. And I think jazz, when you look at the background of jazz and the people who have a big influence of jazz, they all had a lot of style. You're talking about people like Miles Davis. Apart from being a jazz musician, he was a style icon as well. You take musicians like Louis Armstrong, he was the same during his time. So yeah, so Panache is all about delivering quality music with style, you know, and that's the essence of the project, really.
Okay, and I suppose the album cover reflects that, if you want to
Ah, you
make sure what it is.
like. Well, a lot of thought went into that. The cover was influenced by Grover Washington's album, actually,
Oh, is
Wine
that the
Light.
wine lights?
Yes, where you got the saxophone and the glass of wine,
Yeah.
and it just gives that ambience that you need to be somewhere cool and relax when you're listening to jazz music. And so if you look at the concept of the album, it's got like a drumstick, because I'm a drummer, and a little glass of wine. And this coloring of the cover also gives it that sort of purple, regal sort of look. So yes, a lot of thought went into that.
Yeah, I really like the cover actually. It's a nice cover.
Thank you
It's
very
an
much.
unusual cover because with jazz
Mm.
albums, most of the music is instrumental, not all of it, obviously. So I mean, I've
Mhm.
listened to like famous artists, and they always say sometimes it's very difficult to come out with a title. They write the song, and then they have to think, oh, what we're going to call this, So you already had it sort of mapped out in your head. And then all your previous EPs, like, do they follow a similar theme, or is it just how you feel at a certain time?
Yeah, no, I've already got the theme for the next one, which
Okay,
I won't let the cat
yeah,
out of the
that
bag
tells.
now. But it's always thought through. My first EP was entitled Solitude. At the time, it
Hmm.
was released in 2020, and at the time, we had COVID. Everyone was
Yeah.
locked in. It was a
Hmm.
time when people started reflecting about their life, and that's what Solitude is all about. So it's a collection of songs you can listen to and reflect at what was the first one was about. The second EP I released was entitled Rapture, and Rapture is about the joy music can bring you, and the songs in there also reflected that. Um, then I did my first album, which was entitled not Discovery, Euphoria. And
Hmm.
in Euphoria, it's just a feeling of happiness of having to achieve my dreams of, recording and producing my own music, and also getting it out there and people appreciating it. So it was just a celebration of music, really. That was what Euphoria was all about. And then the next EP I produced, this was in 2022, I think, was entitled Challenge. So after my third recording, I just thought, well, this is a challenge to produce something that matches the other, recordings. So that was that. And then by the fifth recording, it was an album titled Discovery, which you've been playing. So it's me discovering myself, who I am as an artist, certainly a contemporary jazz artist, So that's what it is. And Panache is, again, as I alluded to earlier, it's just doing what I do with style.
So you know the so that's interesting. So your each album has a different theme.
Hmm.
Is that reflected in the music? Was the music a little bit different in each album? Would you say?
It's consistent. It's pretty consistent.
Okay.
Most of it is easy listening, soulful, smooth jazz. Um,
Hmm.
and obviously, my background or my origins are from Africa, from Sierra Leone. So there's a lot of influence of percussion and African tradition, heavy use of percussion. So that gives it that sort of ethnic feel,
Yeah.
which is my own identity, um, creating my own type of sound, um, contemporary jazz sound. So you find a lot of heavy influence of percussions when you listen to any of my compositions. So yes, but it's pretty consistent. The only difference was when I recorded the album Discovery, which was the first time I got in touch with you. I included, I got well, not criticized, I would say. An observation was made by a lot of fans saying, well, sometimes when we listen to the music, we just think it's too Europeanized. Can you do something with with an Afrobeat feel? So
Sorry,
I thought, yeah.
just
So
to stop you there. Sorry, when after which album were you getting those like observational
after,
criticisms, how you want to put
yes, yes, challenge. A lot of people said it's
it?
too Europeanized, cannot
The challenge
identify.
then. Okay.
We know you've got some African roots in you, but it's not reflected in
Yeah,
the music. So when I was putting songs together for the Discovery, which was the next project, I decided to include mix Afrobeat with jazz. So there's a track on the album Discovery, which you featured on your jazz station called Freetown Breeze.
yeah, great
And
track.
that's,
I like it.
yes, it's homage to where my family come from. Freetown
Hmm.
is the capital of Sierra Leone. And
Hmm.
it's got lush vegetation, and the Atlantic's ocean just goes around the
Yeah.
coast, and it's beautiful, stunning sight. So, and the breeze, it's a tropical country, but you always got that cool, nice breeze blowing. So that's why I entitled that track
Oh.
Freetown Breeze, just to make sure I'm making some sort of reference to my African roots.
Well, that's really interesting actually. So is this something that you kind of found later on? It wasn't there right at the very beginning. Because
No,
obviously when the phrase like smooth jazz suppose mentioned, the media thought is American music, isn't it?
correct, correct.
Because
But I mean, when you
that's where
look
it
at it,
originated from.
jazz actually started off in Africa. It's African
Oh
sounds,
yeah, I
right?
know that. So
Actually,
I meant the smooth jazz version.
yes,
Yeah,
yes, yes. Oh,
yes, the
yes,
smooth jazz
yes, yes,
version.
yes, yes. But we've got to give it a little bit of ethnic feel to make it unique, you
Yeah.
know. Um, But yes, it's even, difficult marketing smooth jazz and contemporary jazz in the UK. So I applaud your station for supporting what I'm doing, because mostly you would get a lot of support in the US, not in the UK.
Okay, so William, as you know, you're a drummer, and I would like to know, how did you get into drums and who your influences are?
Yeah, very good question. Well, initially, in the 70s, when I was a teenager, I'm giving away my age there was a band called Osibisa, and the drummer for Osibisa was a guy called Sola Mafrio.
Yeah,
Very, very good drummer. I used to watch him on telly playing, and he always had a smile on his face. And when you had the percussion interlude, he would just take over, you know, steady on the rhythm. And it was just so lovely to see. And from there, I started developing an interest in drums. So I was about 17, 18 at the time. So I picked up drums from there. As I started learning drums, the basic of funk drumming was quite, interesting to me. So I started listening to more of Art Blakey, you know, um, other drummers that influenced me, like now Marco Walden,
oh
is another
yes,
drummer, because in fact he used to be with the Marcus Vino Orchestra before
yes,
he went mainstream and producing. So I like that versatility. And also Art Blakey was another one who influenced me. Being a band leader and a drummer is unusual. So yes, so those were my sort of influences in drumming. But I listen to a lot of drummers, and everybody's got their style. Um,
mm,
so there are even current drummers who are really, really good, like a guy called Jamison Ross. He actually is a vocalist and a drummer, and which is unusual as well. So he's
yeah.
quite a young guy. So I like that as well. So yeah, draw inspiration from the young and the old.
So, I mean, if you were to, beg your if you were to describe your drumming style, how would you describe it?
Well, I'm more the in the pocket type of drummer. I'm not the kind of drummer who, makes a lot of noise or tries to get the attention. All your business is for me anyway. Your business as a drummer is keeping time and making sure no one's speeding up or slowing down. So keep a steady time, and your business is not there to make a lot of noise. It's just keeping the time. So once you get the rhythm going, I just stick to it. So I'll call myself more or less a in the pocket drummer, keeping time and keeping it simple, and keeping a rhythm.
Like there's some drummers who, when you say in the pocket, think of people like Harvey Mason, I suppose. I think he'll be
Yes.
a good description of that.
Yes.
But there's
Yes.
some drummers like I would say Tony Williams and Stuart Copeland who always seem to be pushing the beats, like really
Correct.
propelling it, and the bass player has to keep up with them. Sometimes,
Exactly.
sometimes they
Exactly.
can't. And then you have other drummers who are kind of like to sit on top of the beat and just stay behind it. So,
Correct.
I mean, do you like drummers who also propel the beats and things like that? Like, was Tony Allen like the Afrobeat drummer? Was he a propeller
Well,
or was he?
no, I think he's more of a driving bit. He doesn't
Mhm.
do much. He just keeps that steady double beat on the bass drum and the little work he does on the snare. So Tony Allen's type of drumming, yes, I would say he's more of an in the pocket type of drummer because he
Yeah,
pushes the beat and keeps a steady rhythm and everything works around him when you listen to Fela's music. Because he actually created Afrobeat. And Fela used to do the orchestration, everything around the beat, around Tony Allen's beat. So you don't find him doing a lot of improvisations when the melody is flowing. Um, that's my observation anyway. And I just think as a drummer, maybe other instruments, yes, but the drum is such a kind of instrument. Yes, I know that modern drummers want to improvise and they want to do different bits, but I personally think as a drummer, your business is keeping time, not competing with the keyboards or saxophonist or guitarist. Just keep your time and stay quiet, stay at the back and do what you're doing.
yeah, because I suppose that's true. Because sometimes when a drummer makes their own record, they can fall into the trap
Mm,
because it's their record
mm.
and they might be the co-producer or something. That they must A,
Yes,
turn their drums up really loud on the mix, and two, do lots
exactly.
of solos.
Exactly. Exactly. It's not necessary, I think, anyway, in my humble opinion, I think. Um, because I do the same when I write my songs. I sort of just get I do the same thing, even though there might be a chance for me to do some solo, but I think no, just leave it. Let the melody, take over. Let the melody be at the forefront and just keep a steady time and steady rhythm to get the groove going. And that's where you should be. And you find the same thing with bass players at the moment. Bass and drums control the rhythm section and the timing. But you find that with modern bass guitarists now, a lot of them are playing melodies on their bass guitar. It's a trend. I personally think makes things a bit sort of muddy. So, but it is a fashion. But I'm just giving my own opinion, the way I feel
Yeah.
things should be and what should make the groove better. Drummers and the bass guitar should just be steady, and then the melody walks around that steady timing. That's my opinion, anyway.
And what about your drum setup? What do you have? Lots of do you have a big kit or?
No, I stick to the basics. That's how I like it. Always back
So
to
snare
basics. That's
drum,
what music is all about. So I normally work with a bass drum, a snare drum, two
mhm,
toms,
two
and a
tones.
kettle drum. Yeah, two toms and a kettle drum. And then normally I'd have two cymbals, a 28 crash and an 18-inch crash cymbal. So that's all I use. But I tend to use the hi-hat quite a lot. Instead
Okay.
of doing a lot of drum note rolls, I do use the hi-hat to actually create a rhythm, instead of to keep it really quiet so the other instruments can be heard.
Okay. And going back to your records, because you mentioned earlier that, about you like to hear a lot of percussion. So do
Mhm.
you do some of the percussion yourself on the drums, or do you have a percussionist? In fact, can you tell us who the musicians are on the record so that will help as well?
All right. 5 years ago, when I made the first record, I was able to get a studio in Scarborough, which I like the recording technique. There's a guy called Chris Jones. He used to be a sound lecturer, the lecturer for sound engineering in University of Hull, but he set up his own business. His setup is really good. He's got a 28-inch track mixing desk, and it's really acoustic and really, really um, nice setup. So I was able to make contact with four musicians there, and we all got on very well together, and I've used them over and over again. So I normally use a guy from Sierra Leone called Cecil Jones. He plays saxophone and trumpet. The bass player,
Saxophone and
um,
trumpet. Wow.
yes, yes. He started off as a trumpeter when he was a teenager and then switched on to saxophone. But he's one of these people that could play anything, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
He's a multi-instrumentalist, really, but his main instrument now is the saxophone. But he can
Okay.
play trumpet as well. Um, and then on bass, I've got Rowan Oliver, who is a lecturer in music at the University of Hull. He runs a jazz club in Scarborough, so he plays bass. He's also a multi-instrumentalist. On keyboards, I've got a chap called Adam Carpenter. He's a local jazz musician and a teacher. He teaches music at the school. And on guitar, I've got Pete Norman. Pete Norman is a rock guitarist, really, but he can play anything. So those are the four musicians I normally work with. So in between albums, sometimes I have guest musicians coming in, and Kevin Davey, one of your producers, has been a guest on one of my albums. He played some
Okay.
trumpet for me.
Yeah.
Um, on other occasions, I've used a guy called Frank Jallo, who is a guitarist from Sierra Leone, as well. So those are the musicians I work with. I'm very careful who I work with because in the music industry, you got so many egos, and a lot of musicians dabble in stuff I don't like, stuff like drugs and drinking. I don't like that sort of stuff. And all these
Mhm.
guys I've mentioned are very regular guys. They don't, they take their music seriously and they don't indulge in any nonsense. So it's easy, so easy to work with them. Really humble guys, very
Yeah.
talented and very humble. So those are the regular people I work with.
All right. That's fantastic. Great.
Mm.
And just going to ask you one last question. So I believe
Mhm.
you have a radio show. Um, is that in Hull in the north of England?
No, it's in Scarborough.
Scarborough, beg pardon.
Yes, it's in
That's in
Scarborough.
Yorkshire. Yeah.
Yes, in North Yorkshire. Yes, it's in Radio Scarborough. It was quite interesting. I started off in 2020 with a radio station called Fairity Radio, which is a community radio in
What?
Brixton.
Sorry, can you repeat the name of the station?
Fairity.
Fairity.
Yeah, Fairity Radio.
Interesting name. Okay, yeah.
Yes. I think the guy who runs it used to work for Colorful FM before he started off on his own. So Feferity is derived from a word meaning fefe, which in Yoruba means to pose, to be of, you know, to show off, basically.
Yeah.
So he's anglified it and made it Feferity. But it's a community station, and again, that was where I started off in London. So after 3 years of traveling, because I live in Durham, it's once a month I used to do the show, the jazz show. So I wanted more exposure. So I had a gig in Scarborough, and one of the program director from Radio Scarborough was there. So he'd read up on what I was doing, and his name is Ken Gadd, and we interacted. And he says, "Well, do you want to do this in Scarborough weekly so you can have more exposure?" And I said, "Yeah." And I started off last year, and it's having, lots of listeners every week, and it's called the Jazz Sessions.
It's called the what, sorry?
The Jazz Sessions.
Oh, jazz sessions.
Yes.
What kind of stuff do you enjoy playing? Do you mix it up? Do you play vocals and things like that? Do you like to play vocals?
Tend to shy away from vocals,
Okay.
but I do play them. I tend to shy away from vocals because that's another pet hate of mine, is that with vocals, it's on everything. I don't mind, let's hear the instrument. Sometimes people just want to hear the instrument.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I know I'm saying things controversial here, but that's me all over. So jazz is all about the instruments, how people can perfect the instruments, but the vocalists take over and they want to be at the forefront and be, oh man,
Yeah, I
take it
regret
easy.
asking that question. So yeah, what kind of jazz do you like to play? That's funny.
I normally have a theme every week.
Oh,
And
that's a good idea. That is a good idea.
yes. So each program will follow the theme for that week. So, for instance, last week the theme was a ska and reggae jazz mix. So
Nice.
everything I played
Wow.
was either reggae or ska.
Yeah.
So I featured the New York Ska Jazz Ensemble. I featured Jackie Mito. I featured so many other bands. Even Sting, I sort of featured because Englishman in New York is very reggae inspired, and he has a
Yeah, it's
version
true.
where he brings in Branford Marsalis and gave it the jazz sort of feel.
Yeah.
So that's what I do. This coming week, I've got an Afro jazz mix. So all the musicians are going to come from Africa. Because we don't get that exposure. There's so many talented musicians out there in
Yeah.
Africa, and you hear the music on UK radio. So people like a guy called Lucas Senyatso is an awesome guy. Bukani Dyer from South Africa. You've got a guy from Uganda called, just remember his name in a minute. His name escaped me. Michael Kitanda. He's a saxophonist, very good musicians, but you don't hear their music on any radio station in the UK. So I tried to feature that. So
Yeah.
this week's program is going to be all about the Afro jazz mix. So every program has a theme, and I follow that theme. Also, what I did earlier on when I started the program, I found out that the knowledge people have about jazz is very limited, and the stations don't explain what jazz is all about. And sometimes you say, "Oh, I like jazz," and people say, "Oh, that's old music." I said, "No, jazz is evolving like every other music." So what I did for about 3 months when I started the program is going through the various subgenres of jazz. So you
Good
got your
idea.
smooth jazz, yes, you got reggae jazz, you get ska jazz, You get Latin jazz. There's all sorts for everybody, you know. And I try to make the program interesting. I plan to actually do interviews with musicians as well, just to give their viewpoint about, you know, jazz and stuff in the
Yeah.
future. So
Okay.
that, in that sense, that's what the program is all about. It's just popularizing jazz and, you know, dispelling all the myths that people have about jazz music. And that's what the jazz sessions is all about. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds great. I'll have to check that out, actually, definitely.
Yeah.
Because it'll be, I
Uh,
assume it'll be online, of course.
yes, just go to radioscarborough.com and it will give you the program schedules. I'm normally on every Friday, 7 to 8 p.m.
Okay. All right, that's great. So just want to say then, in that case, yeah, thanks for the interview. It's really some interesting things you said today, which I know the listeners will be interested to hear. And
Mm.
yeah, good luck with the release and you know and the radio, so keep enjoying that. And yeah, thanks a lot. Really great
Yes, well,
pleasure. Thanks.
I want to say thanks to you as well for being so helpful and also having the vision, you know, to make a more interesting jazz station. And I hope what you're doing builds up traction and more people will know about what you do.
No, thanks. I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
The JLR Interview Series.